Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us here at BMC Exchange. Virtual environment. I'm really pleased to introduce and moderate this session for BMC Exchange. It's all about innovation and innovation through automation, the intelligence of not only making sure that the service and operations delivers what it's supposed to, but drive those efficiencies and drive those costs and really create those game changers that we're all looking for technology. Very pleased to have with us today Trung Quach from Videotron. He's IT Infrastructure and Operations Senior Director for Videotron, and we've got a lot of exciting topics here, some really interesting and innovative ways of how Videotron's applying this automation technologies throughout their entire infrastructure. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Trung Quach from Videotron. Welcome, Trung.
Hi, Dave. I'm very pleased to be invited again this year in a different format. But after all the crazy stories we did in New York, I'm very happy you guys allowed me to be here again.
Welcome back. Yes. Last year at the New York Exchange was a fantastic presentation where we introduced the concept of game changers. And, certainly I think that coming back and seeing what happened over the last year, especially a year like this one, is very, very exciting. So without kind of further ado, why don't you kind of talk a little bit about Videotron, kind of how many customers, kind of give the lay of the land of what Videotron is and what you guys are all about.
Perfect, Dave. So on this slide, it's about the same as last year. So I'm gonna go through it fast so that we can go to the next ones, other questions. I hope you guys have a lot of questions. So Videotron is it's a telecom company that have 4 services. So you can see on the screen, it's 1.5 million for IPTV customers, 1.75 million for internet customers, 1.4 million for mobile, and we still have 1 million for home phone customers. You can see that we are 6,500 employees that works in our offices virtually now to support all of this. So we're gonna go to the next one. So the objective, I'm gonna give you the objective of what, let's say, the C-level wants. So you see the first picture on the left. That's what the C-level of our company wants. It's already, we can say it's impossible because we already need more money to do efficiency, quality, and speed. Okay. On the right, you're gonna see that it's what users want, right? They want everything easy. They want the good technology, especially during COVID-19. So that's what they want. And you can see on the lower right, that's what managers want, right? So they want employee engagement so they can perform, so everybody's happy. So that's about what they want, and I'm gonna talk to you about how I answer to this. I always answer to this with innovation. And we did last year, we had some great slides, and I think we had a lot of questions. So this year I'm gonna focus on one, and that's automation, of course, through orchestration. Okay. So we can see the slides. We got also a lot of questions about how do we do this? How do we get money to innovate when everybody's trying to cut costs, right? So this is the first time, I've done this for 8 years, but this is the first time that I really write the process down. I think you should have it at the right time, the right ROI. So let's start with the year 1, quarter 4. This is where most of I&O teams, we buy everything that we would buy next year in terms of end-of-life equipment and the growth, okay? I would add in this a small percentage of, we call it game changers, but it's truly it's innovations. So you can see in quarter 1 of next year, we start our projects in place of whatever we bought the end of the year for last budget. Now we're starting to make project plan and start delivering it. So you can see up that we we meet the CIO to tell him, look, we got the money, we made our plans, and this is here in the year where you're gonna get your saving that I promised with the ROI in the business case, right? So after that, we go to quarter two, sorry. And this is when I meet all vendors. BMC is a big part of that group of vendor that can help me innovate. It's been 3 years now, even we're going on the fourth one, that BMC is there to help. So I show it to the vendor, look, this is what we passed. This is the saving I promised. Without you guys, I promised to my CIO. So we really have to do it. But I want to start the next round of ideas and make sure that we're on speed, because the next round is coming very fast. And I want to get this like a habit of having ideas and delivering. So you can see in orange, this is the most important part. It's in Q3. This is where usually in the companies, the CIO, CFO, they start seeing that a lot of teams underspend because of all kinds of reasons. Not enough people, let's say the coordination of everything, and some difficulties that we hit. And this is when they start panicking, let's say. So this is here that everything is placed. So we come here, we present all our business cases with ROI. And this is the part that you can't miss, right? And then you're gonna see after Q4 and Q1 of the years after is exactly the same thing as before, okay? And now you can see that exactly in Q3 2017, this is when we go with the automation from BMC. I'm sure you guys gonna have a lot of questions on this process, and I hope you type it down. I will try to answer them. Okay, this is the way I do it. I think it's been 3 companies I'm doing this, working pretty well. I think you should try it out just for fun.
So let's go maybe a little deeper on some of the process on here too. If you look at kind of year one, you're talking about, most of the I&O teams, are really kind of buying hardware and software, before the year, because, they really kind of underspent, and it's really kind of easier to sell. What was your kind of approach, and, how does that differ from what most people are doing?
Yeah, so usually in the years, the teams, they tell me, this tool is not performing. Trying this type of hardware is not doing good for us. And finance is telling me to cut, and people are telling me we can't cut because of the solution. So when the time comes, especially in quarter two, when we start the round of ideas, I start telling them, look, in Q4 of this year, you're gonna come to me to buy whatever you're doing now, but more. But don't forget that now you're telling me that you don't like it, right? So please change whatever you don't like. The only thing you're not allowed is to do the same thing if you don't like it, right? And this is how we start everything. It's a bit rough at the beginning, right? Because people don't understand me, I don't understand them. But then after that, now we're getting this mindset rolling.
Yeah, because it seems to me that, by kind of the year two, quarter one that you have on here, you really need to show your savings plan to the CIO, going back to that first objective, right? I mean, obviously, you got to show the cost savings on there. But at the same point, you got to drive that innovation. You got to drive, and make sure that you're delivering those, kind of experiences across the board. And, I think, maybe one thing you can talk about too, especially as you look at different vendors or different partners along the journey on there, do you give them kind of RFP on here, or how do you talk about, or do you give them a summary of your business case, and then how do you help kind of drive that forward?
So I would like it to call my process all year around RFI. I would call it like that. So we have, let's say, 10 vendors, 12 in the same room, 3 times a year. and we do RFIs all the time. And then we break out in rooms, and they convince my team of ideas. And my team, when they believe it, they build the business case. So that's the way we work. It's a different mindset because there's some vendors like BMC that's very active on introducing us technology. And there's other vendors that are more, let's see how this guy is going to do this, right? And unfortunately for those vendors, maybe they won't be at the table in the second year.
Yep. No, that makes total sense. So maybe we can go further on here in the process, because obviously, as you mentioned before, it's really then now you're introducing the kind of automation, especially in the orchestration type of standpoint. And so can you kind of describe, maybe what the next, types of innovations, or what kind of innovations you're able to realize from doing this process?
So before I go to the next slide,
Oh, sure.
We started by, let's say, technology.
Mm-hmm.
And then now last year and beginning of this year, we really attacked the process for the end user. So I'll talk to you about this in the next slide. Okay.
Excellent.
So here you can see, if you look in the middle, okay, you can see that even the automation orchestrator of BMC, it's in the middle of all BMC software, because admins are using a lot of tools, your tools actually, but they still switch one to the other, and we want to make it easy for them. Okay, so it's in the middle of everything. If you go a bit further on the side, you can see that most of people use automation orchestration for service desk. Okay, on the top left. And you start seeing two, let's say, technology automation on the bottom left for infrastructure. This is pretty common. I did not invent nothing here. On the top right, though, this is something I'm very proud, and you're going to see on the next slide, is we deliver projects with orchestration. Okay? Very important for us because it's often sold as a tool that can lower your OPEX, right? So people buy it like this, but this is not true. So we use it to deliver faster as well. It's cost avoidance of capex, but still cost saving, right? And you can see on the bottom right is everything that's ITIL. So ITIL is very powerful if you do it right, but ITIL requires a lot of manual tasks, and this is where when people tell us, "Strong, I don't like a tool," it's really you don't want to do a process. It's not that you don't like the tool. So we use orchestration to simplify all the tools as well, right? And if we go on the edges, you can see that now we're at the stage that we are working with the end users, and we are working with the employees, right? If all the budget are cutting all the time because we have to do better, then I have to bring solution to make it easier for everybody, right? That's the thing we're aiming. So that's how we use it. And so far, I can say we have. You guys had a lot of questions about my numbers last year that I put. Some of you guys have asked me, "Troy, is it hard saving or it's like productivity, right?" And my answer was like, whatever I'm showing is only hard savings. It's not even productivity, right? So this is how we use the BMC Helix tools.
So I think one of the things that's very interesting, and probably one of the key ingredients, and definitely want to get your opinions on it. The reason why you start with the process and make sure that you write it down and have procedural is that, obviously automation and orchestration relies on that process. It can't just be by momentum. It can't just be of winging it, so to speak. And so can you talk a little bit more, because that seems to be also maybe a bit of a paradox where you are using processes which most people view as slowing things down, maybe bureaucratic red tape. But talk about that, how processes are kind of the key ingredient for automation or orchestration success.
Absolutely. So I've met many teams at Videotron, and we always hit the technology part. And I always tell them, please, guys, do you master your process? If you master your process, I can automate orchestrate. If you say it depends on how I feel today,
Hmm.
this is very hard for me to do it. But I had a bad example back then. If it depends on the temperature, then I can. But now I found out that I can, so I cannot use that excuse no more.
No, that makes complete sense. And I think the other thing too that we found, even like with things like virtual chatbots, of having a strong process like for your knowledge base, and having and making sure it's the old adage of, bad data in, bad data out. And some of the things too for self-service, for a chatbot is, dependent upon making sure that you have those things in place. And so when you have, and again, it's again kind of the irony or paradox that you take the time to establish those key processes. That's the way you make things faster and make things more efficient. And that's, I think that's part of the other things too, as you look at worthwhile. Maybe there's something else to talk about too. I'm sure, on the previous slide that you showed for the processes, those were, years of setting those things up. Can you
Yeah.
talk maybe just a little bit, even anecdotally, about, the investment on the processes to make this automation or orchestration, because it seems a very complex system, make it very easy, and to realize the efficiency goals that you're trying to reach?
Absolutely, Dave. So it's like when I sit down with the client, we're doing like what he wants to do as a process. Let's say it
Hmm.
like that, and in the back, what's the real process, right? With all the auditing that comes with it, I would
Yeah.
say. So the orchestration is doing the difference.
Yeah.
Uh, so the user wants to see 3 clicks, I will give him 3 clicks, even though in the back it's 100 clicks. But the orchestration is do it for the users. That's
And
how
maybe
we
that,
do.
and maybe that's also like really key point on here too, because looking at this diagram, you have, 3 different levels of orchestration, but the complexity of this system, um, you know, I would think would be, fairly daunting. Maybe you can address, the way that, as maybe not to reduce the complexity, but in the back end, just what you were talking about, hey, it's only 3 clicks, but in the back, the orchestration is maybe doing 100 steps. I'm exaggerating here, but maybe just talk about, how do you again address that paradox of, hey, I'm to the end user in the experience, I'm only doing 3 clicks, but in the back end, I'm doing hundreds of different things.
Yeah. So there's different mindset here. So there's some people telling me, Tron, you should fix the process fast before you orchestrate.
Hmm.
I usually don't do that. I orchestrate first to bring the saving to the CFO. Remember at the beginning,
Hmm.
CIO, CFO is waiting for this. So I orchestrate, let's say, a non-performing process. I would say that like that, and then I innovate on the way of the process works. Okay,
Mm.
and then I make it easier time after time. So so the user gets the benefits. Like you saw before, the user get the benefit, the CIO, CFO gets the benefits,
Yep.
and then I got to do the funny part as well, right? That's the way we do it, and it's pretty cool. Maybe one day, I don't know, we can do a working session on this. It's
Mm.
a lot of good discussion.
No, no, for sure. And again, just as a reminder, if anybody have any questions, please feel free to put it into the chat window. We'll be happy to address it. So I know, Trung, you mentioned earlier, and again, even last year, talking about the game changers and talking about the results you got. What about this year? What kind of results are you getting, through this automation and orchestration approach?
So this year we came up with a slide that's only about automation orchestration because last year we blended management ratio,
Mhm.
Gardner, capex, opex, budget, and everything. But this year, let's focus on just this. Maybe you guys would believe me more this year, right? So if you look on the top left, all the orchestration has ROI from 6 to 18 months, right? If you have a good process to defining which one you're doing, you often gonna do the ones paying you back the fastest and the most, right? On the bottom left, you can see that it's usually between 80 and 90% faster than what the human is doing. And
Hmm.
I'm not talking about technology automation. I'm talking about process, right? So let's say my team, it takes 5 minutes. The other team takes 5 minutes. But together, because we're on different priorities, it takes us a day. Now it takes us 2 minutes overall. It's a lot of savings, especially for the end users' eyes, right?
Hmm.
On the top right, this is something I'm very proud of because we have the service desk in my team, and the battle of people changing jobs and documentation and training. It's a never-ending battle, right? And there's less and less people want to do those jobs. So, but when they're there, they work hard. So I find out that automation orchestration, there's less training and less documentation because it's automated, right? It's in the system, the process. So this is very good. And on the bottom right, I find out that employees are very happy because we're taking out jobs that they don't want to do anyway,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
these are the fourth thing that we really see. And now we're gonna go in the middle. So these are kind of real numbers, right? And you can see at the on the right side, year five, it did not happen yet. It's 2021. So I did a simulation to explain to you guys how much I like this because I find that this way of doing things is the only thing that I found out that gets ROI going, even though I stop, right? So that I'm very happy, and I always focus on this. So the year one, whatever money we invested on the left, we got it in about 9 months, right? So you can see in blue, and
Hmm.
like you can see in blue that I got the money back really quick in the same year. Okay, you can see that year two, I invest more money, but I got actually the ROI from last year plus the ROI with this year, right? Because the
Hmm.
orchestration actually keeps going better. People are using it more because they like it. So you see year three, same amount of investment, but even more ROI, right? Because people are using orchestration from the year before and actually the two last years,
Hmm.
right? And the same thing for this year. So we put them in more money because people are used to it. So we put more money. We think there's more benefits to this. So year five, 2021. Let's say the next year I'm going rogue. I don't know what happened, and I say I don't invest money in it, but it's still paying because of the last 4 years of orchestration, right? So this is the one that I think at Videotron we like the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably in other companies as well.
And I think the other thing that's interesting here too, you're showing hard savings. These aren't just soft saving numbers; these are hard saving numbers, right?
Absolutely. This is hard saving. We actually the CFO is especially with COVID, he's cutting. So even if it was soft saving, Dave, he would still cut. So it became hard saving. But you always have to kind of do this before he has to cut, right?
And that's what makes it really compelling because, again, from a soft saving, that can be debatable. From a hard saving standpoint, obviously the numbers don't lie, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not that when he asks, we cut, and but we automate the job already.
Yeah. And I think the other interesting thing too, looking at less documentation and training, that's just on understanding the process. And obviously, you take a look at automation or anything that's, machine based, that's all they do. They're designed to follow step one, step two, step three, step
Absolutely.
infinity and beyond, right? And I think that's one of the really interesting things too, is probably drove up employee satisfaction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Employee satisfaction, user satisfaction as well.
Yeah.
We have a NPS very high, higher than the market by a bit. and you're gonna see the first call resolution and everything. It's very good as well.
And then, obviously with the, kind of understanding and doing all that work up front on the process, then it frees your people up to actually focus on what they should be doing, which is innovation and those higher level things of how to make things better and how to drive, again, more of these hard savings and more innovation across the board.
Absolutely. So we shift whatever is not cut. I can say it like this. We shift all that workforce into more game changers.
I mean, I think that's the other thing too that's really interesting with this approach is that what you're doing is you're making sure that the keeping the lights on, the driving of the core business is faster and it's automated on there, and that's why you're able. Again, I keep talking about the paradox, but you're able to then drive the business with better efficiency for the core business you need to do, but also add innovations on top of it. Because if you're doing the automation, you're still using, the same type of resources there, or maybe even, back to your point too, maybe even cut resources, but you're still able to drive both of those, the innovation as well as the core business needs that you need to do because of the automation and orchestration between all the different factors.
Absolutely. That's why, Dave, this is the first innovation I bought at Videotron. It's the other one came after. The other one came because I have capacity because of orchestration.
So maybe one thing we can do and pivot from here. So you've talked about the processes and how that really is a kind of a key driver. And again, with the complex ecosystem you're doing and how you're able to automate and orchestrate between those seemingly siloed types of systems. And then showed kind of the very much of the hard savings. Talk about the innovation. Let's go actually talk about the innovations. What kind of examples or things has come about because of you putting this process and these game changers in?
Perfect. So the end of last year and especially this year, we really focus on let's say what can we do a bit further with orchestration. Technology, a lot of people can talk about. So this year we had some pain point about auditing. I don't know if you guys know about IT general controls. They audit how you do your control on your process. We couldn't make it, Dave. We had some red lights, yellow lights everywhere. So we decided to propose something to the CFO and the CIO about why not automate it, right? Why wasting time of admins that don't want to do it? That's why we're red and yellow. Why not do it by orchestration? So of course I will skip all the fights that we have. Okay, we had, but at the end we did it, and this year we're gonna have the results. I'm very happy about this. So you can imagine the cost saving here, right? If we go down, we see ITIL, like I talked before. It takes a lot of energy for a lot of people, and the governance it's even worse. I can give you some example. We have some, let's say, KPIs. Just simple example. Okay, KPIs, they usually take us 3 days before to gather them, do some manual stuff about the month before. Now it takes us 5 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, and the 5 minutes is because we just implemented the smart reporting from BMC. Okay, that's why it's 5 minutes, because it's not gonna be 5 minutes in the future because it's gonna run automatically at night. So in the morning we will have it. So all the reporting and then it takes all that work out, for reporting and fighting about KPIs, and then we talk about the real stuff like continuous improvement, right? So this I'm very happy about. We even self-healing some software from end user computing that was going down all the time. So we brought it up without the users knowing. So they were very sad when we took that out because they say, Chung, it was working so good. Why did you take it out? I said, look, it was really bad, but you guys don't know about it, right? Why did we take it out? Because of the project just under it. Okay. So that project we did with Microsoft, of course, and Microsoft has professional services that that says that they're so expert that none of the client can follow the pace, right? So we did, and actually, you guys can see the success story about it. But overall, we did it under budget, over scope, on time, right? And this is, for sure, here is very hard to believe, but we did a success story just because of that. And they asked us, how did you guys follow the pace? We had hundreds of people doing this every day. So we said, but us, we had something too. It's called the Orchestrator from BMC, right? And this is how we follow the pace. They were very impressed. Let's talk about COVID now on the right. So we had, COVID hit us in March,
Yep.
and we put 97% of the workforce from Videotron at home in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, there was. It was very fast because we had automation orchestration. We were actually pressing buttons when the user were ready, right? So this I'm very proud of, especially for a company that was mostly, his culture was mostly to work in the office,
Sure.
right? But don't forget that we have to change some process that was made to work at work. Well, I'm talking about the service desk. I'm talking about the SOC, the NOC, all the operation center, the operators, and everything, right? Everybody was used to work beside each other. So because we send them home, we also have to change all those things and put automation in to help people to compensate with what they don't hear at work, right? So one is I'm very proud as a good example is the one on the bottom right. So we did the top 3 calls at the service desk. We were very good in those 3 calls. We were first call resolution, all of them, the top 3. Okay, but now with orchestration, we did a 0 call resolution. So I'm taking 0 call for all those top 3. You can see I just got some stats in this week from the beginning of actually we put it in March. Gartner says that during COVID you have 30% increase of call in service desk. We got 5%. Okay, and now we just got the stats in that we lower our waiting call from 20% to the last weeks because of that, right? So we're taking the real calls, the calls that are easy, automation fixes.
So the amazing type of results, and I think the other thing too, as we kind of break these down, so if you look at kind of I'll start going from left to right, just like kind of you broke it down. For the general controls of the governance or auditing, obviously that's something that is vitally important to the business, but normally puts a big burden on the certainly for your staff and certainly for other companies to gather the information. You talk about the time savings on there too, but I would also imagine too that because you are also breaking down those silos and you have automation and orchestration across the board, can you talk a little bit about just the quality of the data that you get back? You talk about because you're doing this, you're getting a holistic type of picture that again that normally would be done manual, which could lead to some oversights of missing some data.
Absolutely. So I can even give you stats about this, and it's a funny one. It wasn't funny when it happens, but now it's a bit funny. So in the IT general control, the data with the orchestration is right on, right? It's not lying, right? So most of that it's catching people not following process. Right? So I can give a good example. How come you got an access, but I don't see a service request approved by your manager, right? Because you called me and we did it, right?
Yeah.
So it was so good and so bad that the orchestrator was jammed the first week that we put it in place.
Oh wow!
But the data is 100% correct.
Yeah,
So now,
and comprehensive too, because you're looking across, different, things that normally would have to go piecemeal together, and then to your point, then try to assemble that full picture. So it's not just the exercise of getting all the data, but then assembling it together into the realistic picture that you need to have, right?
absolutely. So
Yeah.
this was pretty fun.
No, I bet. So let's kind of take again, please feel free. Any questions you have, please put it into the chat window. So as we're looking to close out the session here, well, let's talk about what's coming up next. I mean, I don't want to give away what's going to happen next year at Exchange, but what are you going to show next year at Exchange?
Perfect. So we always try to have our mindset. What can we push further? All right. How can we do this better? And people would tell me all the time, trying. It depends on what the tool does.
Mm-hmm.
I would say in this case, it depends on how you unlock your creativity. Okay, it's not about the tool. The tool, except something physical like deliver you a pizza, let's say, it can't do the orchestration.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not physical, I did not find a use case yet that it can do. Okay, so I'm gonna explain to you guys what's coming next. So we hear a lot about AI. We bought some AI in 3 or 4 products, and from some from BMC as well in the chatbot and everything, smart IT, and there's a lot of good words and a lot of bad words about AI. Okay, people are saying that the furthest we go so far now, and I agree with them. It's machine learning, so you have to teach them. He has to read data. But then you can see on the left, it's all the users now that have a lot of devices using technology and bringing the data to AI. Already that was a big issue that we have, right? So I use the orchestration to do that. And you can see when you finish your AI, they're always saying, Tron, the AI is as good as your quality of your data.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I always say that. So I said, okay, so but let's start acting on it and let's make it better. So you see on the right that we're using orchestration again and to do some tasks, and then we're using automation, technology automation, and we're using now RPA for from a third party from BMC. Okay, very interesting. We met them last year. We bought it. It helped us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I see that use case RPA really in data that is very personal, security wise, everything personal, right? So we found out that RPA is maybe better in that area because it keeps the data at the same place. So we use those two, and when we use those two, we say, why don't we bring the feedback to the users so they know more about how to do this, right? And then at the same time, we bring back that data that was been executed by a machine, so it has a better quality of it in the AI. So that's how we believe that we can make AI better through orchestration automation. I can give you the 3 use case that we're going to be working as from now to next year. So it's since we have the service desk, I think that with the business tendencies and with the IT tendencies, I'm talking about incident change. I'm pretty sure that AI can help us make a better schedule, right, for the service desk, so we can answer more calls. Even though we have 0 calls resolution running all the time, we can help people like this. The second use case would be knowledge base. Mm-hmm. Knowledge base is something, it's been a pain to a lot of people. We never have the money and the time to put the right data in, and we certainly never have the money and the time to read the data, right? So we sat down with the people and we said, but what if the user, wherever he types, we get the orchestration to get the data and put it somewhere? Yep. And then we use the AI to look everywhere, right?
Yep.
And use the orchestration to execute that, right? So that's a big use case too. And for infrastructure, this I hope it will work. It's very I would like it a lot. It's time to time at Videotron we on TV we have some great shows. Okay, and the end user on our clients actually want to watch a show, but he doesn't have the channel, right? So let's say the show it's at 7. So usually at 6:55, he noticed that he doesn't have the channel. So he's hitting all our system, calling our service desk, business service desk, and then there's an overload for our infrastructure. So I was wondering if we can catch that with AI, and we can send the orchestrator to adjust our infrastructure just for an hour, let's say, right?
Yeah.
And then bring it down after, but avoid all incidents and all the talking that I have to do to the C-level.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't see that coming. Right?
Absolutely.
So that's a 3 use case that I will be tackling it.
Well, that's fantastic, and I know we probably could go another 40 minutes or so on all this. Is really amazing type of stuff, and obviously certainly a good teaser for next year for Exchange. So again, I really appreciate Trung walking us through what Videotron, what your processes are. Looking through automation, how you're using orchestration to drive this innovation and really produce these game changers. So once again, Trung, thank you so much for your time. Great discussion. Please, really enjoy the discussion, and looking forward to doing this again next year.
Perfect, Dave. Thanks a lot, and I hope too that I will succeed. So you guys invite me again next year.
Thank you so much again.